Boops Are Eternal, Chapter 10, The Chase. You never really understood why characters in a cartoon or a game or something would grab their food before running away from something hell-bent on catching them. After all, it made sense to have free hands, regardless of hunger. Until now, of course, where you, the bacon-wielding bandit, are running from a massive white god horse, because nothing will take your bacon away from you. Suck it, side-scroller characters. You don't lose either way, or die. That too. You took care not to stash any glorious meat in your pockets, though, because you'd prefer not to hear the other white one scream something in corn before joining in the chase. That would probably cause terminal brain damage after the impact, and probably kill your poor ears, again. So in other terms, your hands can take it. And in other terms, lock yourself in the bathroom sooner rather than later. Grease feels weird, preferably one with a window, escape plans and all. Since you really only know the location of one bathroom, you're currently blitzing through the castle in an attempt to get to your room. You can only hope that she doesn't have a skeleton key or something, and that she doesn't use magic, which seems to be the case, at least for now.
Come back here!
Oh yeah, remember the whole thing about seeming insane? Yeah, Celestia really doesn't care about that, and frankly...
You'll never catch me! I'm the Bacon Bandit, Scourge of the Seven Sea Skies, and everything else in between!
Neither do you, really. This is just really fun, and getting exercise like this, it feels pretty awesome. Ignoring any pain that old wounds are screeching to you about, however, Twilight would fix it. Probably. One of the best parts of this entire chase is probably the sheer amount of guards who seem to be entering in different states of shock. Well, you don't really blame them. The big old monkey alien is being chased down by their goddess. The Boop Giver, too. That's gotta be a bit traumatizing. Or enticing, for the weirdos in the bunch. Your mind may not always be stable, but it does make you giggle like an idiot. Less than Celestia's dopey smile, that is. And now, Celestia is throwing random objects at you with magic. Probably shouldn't have looked back at her. You don't know where she got that banana peel, but you played enough Mario Kart to know that a safe distance of 10 meters was probably the best option here. And, by the way, home stretch in 50 meters. Wesley, warp 9.9 engage. After a bit too much fumbling with locks, a face stuffing of bacon, a trip to the bathroom, and a towel rope, you were free-ish. And somehow, you didn't wake up Luna along the way. Yeah, you were just in the garden now. And Celestia was flying at you this time, pretty fast too. Your time is definitely up, so putting your arms out and widening your stance seems like the best idea. Brace! About way too many pounds crashes into you and you're sent tumbling into the bushes. You're definitely not coming out of this without some heals. Regardless, some defensive flailing was in order, even if your attempts are being slightly thwarted by a strength that outperforms even Steve's. Or, in more practical terms, you are being held down by the shoulders this time. You need to find a quick way to disarm these ponies, hopefully a method that transcends Boops as well. Maybe get stronger would work too, because as you've seen in this case, some will hunt you down, even if some is basically just this one. She takes a moment to give you the most adorable smile you've seen in ages, while catching her breath, and it doesn't take long for her to do exactly what she said she would do. And despite the presence of the bushes, she latches onto you.
How many hours was it last time?
The time is never on your side. Much less the perception of it.
I'll take that as your answer.
And she's doing the full defensive curl thing now. Your heart, it hurts, and not just because running is hard this time. Mostly. What about breakfast?
Does it truly matter?
I don't know. Twilight always nagged to me that you'd say that it was something important or whatever.
She did she?
Yeah, and she's a terrible fucking liar, so, Your only response is to get your mouth slightly burdened by the presence of a chest in your face, along with a couple of giggles. A horse chest, you degenerate. You try and wiggle your way out of it, only to get caught by a tighter grip, but hey, at least you can breathe now. What do I have to do to get back to my precious sausage? She just giggles again and lays her head on top of yours. Alright. Dumb ideas time. Volume 2. Fucking electric boogaloo time, god horse. You still need to travel down the list of scratch reactions, and while Luna is obviously a complete sucker for them, it's time to test the kahuna with a big Buddha. Your wiggly pokers are primed for action. With the elegance of the ancient Egyptians, you strike under her wings. She immediately seizes up, and you can feel the energy around you immediately change. You know this reaction. You know it very well. It's the one thing all of your friends were terrified of. The one thing that you would never relent on. Celestia is ticklish. She's trying her hardest not to fall to the power of your supreme wiggly pokers, but you know the ways. You move to her foreleg joints, and you continue on the glorious fight. She's barely holding herself together. Wager time. Do you risk death and go for the haunches, or see if she's a neck joint tickler? You're still not 100% on the whole not being executed thing, so you go for the neck joint. You've struck diamonds anyway, and while it isn't really a complete fall-apart reaction, she can't hold back anymore. She starts laughing like a multiple millennia old schoolgirl. Words cannot express exactly how glorious this was. The cuteness you uncovered, that would change the face of Equestria forever. Something you were gonna keep to yourself, out of sheer greed and pride as well. Are you gonna let go now? Yeah, she moved on to trying to crush the tickling out of you, instead of letting herself do the whole flex to avoid tickling thing. So of course, you're only going to go faster.
No, I would never. You still have to pay for everything.
Terminal tickling approaching. She's going to full flex soon. You could feel it in your blood. An entire ancestry's worth of ticklers is telling you this definitively. Celestia, give up. I want glorious meat, and I can't do that while I'm literally stuck in a bush with a princess. Meat.
Fine.
She tenses up for a moment, weirdly, but ultimately starts to relent. Every inch she gives you is an exponential drop in tickling for her. Once you've basically just parted, she starts to huff things to herself. Definitely the under-the-breath cursing to the underworld kinds of huffing, a kind that you knew very well.
Boop. What? I can't have a little fun?
If looks could cuddle until death.
I can handle plenty of fun, thank you very much. I'm just a bit...
She leaves the confines of the very decimated bushes, only to circle onto the path for a second, giving herself a few sharp looks. Once you shamble out, you can easily see why. Yeah, you're both the definition of leaf people now, or, leaf human and, a leaf goddess, or leaf pony. Yeah, they never really made that quite clear. Still, Celestia obviously isn't made to look this disheveled and bushy, even if it is hilarious in its own right. Oddly enough, with another closer look, Celestia's hair isn't exactly what you'd expect. Makes the whole original fiasco more interesting. At a distance, or when you're not focusing, it looks almost like a stream, or like a calm breeze carrying some form of harmonic energy. And again, it seems affected by the weird psych aura that they give out, but when it's closer, like this, it's literally just hair. Very poofy, very abundant, and very hard to manage hair. And all that with slight sparkles. Okay, the next time you're dealing with Luna, you should probably get a closer look at her too. Other than the hair debacle, her entire form is half decimated by the sheer force of stubborn leaves and twigs, plus the occasional grass stain. She has become one with nature. That's probably not a good thing though, but you know, the real question is, what's gonna be done about it? Because she's flashing you a gaze right now, almost like you're supposed to deal with it. Or, well, know how. But, sorry princess, but you don't know magic or anything else overpowered. Just the power of scratchies, boopses, and other socio-physical interactions, or black magic, depending on who you ask. And now she's noticed you're staring. Time to put your vision anywhere else. So, feel presentable enough to get back to breakfast? And to explain any of this? Celestia's gaze immediately hits the ground and she lets out a snort.
Not quite yet.
didn't think so. I think my attempts to save the suit has failed to the fullest extent of the law. Man, I'm gonna get killed. Yet again, Celestia has no trouble letting out a small giggle.
You'll be fine. Rarity isn't one to hold that against any pony, at least in my dealings with her.
With all due respect, you are a royal though, right? Think she's gonna be a bit lenient compared to the alien? You trail off there, coming back to the point that this is fucking royalty, Anon, not just another Twilight. The thought doesn't last too long, though, as Celestia starts to frown, and just like back at the hospital, she looks almost disappointed again. At you, but also herself, and yet again, you're completely tripped up.
Yes, I suppose that is true.
She trails off, only to give a small self-deprecating chuckle.
It does come with a title, after all, correct?
Uneasy lies the head. You never thought you'd ever say this, but thanks middle school English teacher with an unhealthy obsession for Shakespeare. It's a bit of an odd thought, a random one at best, but maybe you should lay off the princess thing, at least every now and then. She gets it all the time already, right? And you're the weird green alien monkey anyways, nobody would care if you shouted "fuck the police" before waltzing around Canterlot naked, so if anything, disrespectful in front of the princess could be looked over, correct? Now, it was time to channel this impulsiveness that had never led you astray, yet. You half limp up to the princess and kneel down properly onto your knees. Probably not the best decision as she gets a bit ear droopy, but it'll be fine. You silently beckon her to face you with a hand, which only earns you a side look. A few pokes on the side, however, gets the message across with a smile. That was way too easy. You love it. Channeling your inner soccer mom, you prepare a thumb before starting to clear off a few grass stains to the best of your ability. For a bit, she almost seems to forget where you are, maybe even who you are, and she leans into your touch. Yeah, she's a weirdo. You lean away from soccer moms, not towards them, silly Sonny. You get pretty much all the damage off of her face, but she comes back to reality around the time you try and detangle a twig from the back of her mane. Looking super red, you might add. Sure, it might have been a bit embarrassing, but...
Anon, you may want to be a bit more careful with your touch.
Gay?
There are a few spots, ones that you should try and avoid.
Shit, you're being a weirdo again. Yeah, I'm not exactly an expert on ponies. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. You just didn't know.
She isn't afraid in the slightest to lean a head onto your chest anyways.
And it was nice.
Well, this is an interesting spot you've got yourself into.
There is a certain difference between being catered to as a princess and to as a pony. I suppose that is why I enjoy these little silly moments, even if you do make mistakes.
She's upgraded to cheek rubs, and you're still out of cards. What? How is this even happening?
I'm not too sure what brings them on, but I'm glad to be treated differently than normal when they come, even if it's only for a short while. And even if it takes a year to bring out another one, or two in this case.
She giggles again.
But I don't think waiting for any more of those would be a problem in my case.
She moves on, caught up in the moment, and lets her nose drift to yours.
Still, I have to find some way to bait these out of you more often. For whatever reason, I feel an impossible level of comfort. A connection that needs no words, needs not ages of growth to understand, not many failed attempts or broken hearts, it's just simply right. A connection that I have not felt in a very long time.
While she's completely caught up in whatever this is, you're currently completely paralyzed. Sure, you actually agreed with a lot of this. Maybe not for the whole experience, but this was starting to get to over-the-top levels of sudden closeness. And while the hopeless romantic in you was all in, the rest of you was having a bit of a questioning reality fest. It doesn't help when she suddenly freezes and is stuck there just staring at you, instead of continuing on with this. Not so much when she goes bright red and suddenly snaps back, or when she tries to get words out but instead lets out a few embarrassed squeaks, or, when she teleports out unintentionally, flashbanging you in the process. Okay, what's with princesses and doing that? Alright, as God once said, what the fuck do I do with these apes now? So, that was interesting. Yeah, heading back to the dining hall wasn't an option, so you've made the executive decision to stop off at your room to take a quick shower, one that isn't cold, fuck you Twilight, and get some new clothes. While the suit was your classic style, a good old gray hoodie and jeans did fucking wonders. And you would also like to prolong the release of Cornean Daemons. It's like sitting down but standing up. Whoever invented jeans and whoever invented hoodies, they deserved an afterlife raise, maybe a ticket to Ponyland. Please give Billy Joel a ticket to Ponyland, for the love of God, you need it. Okay, yeah, and there was still a sleeping moon on your bed. One that you were currently petting in an attempt to enter a state of self-therapy. A state you weren't reaching, you might add. Luna is really fucking soft, like softer than Celestia. You're really not sure how, because she's definitely a lot leaner, but she's literally the epitome of cuddles. Definitely the shorter sister, but she's got it where it counts. That might include the flanks. No, you didn't stare, shut up. Okay, considering it though, they both are definitely the standard for ponies. Regal as all hell, and built as perfectly as you probably could. You'll give them the beauty award. Definitely. Okay, oh god, alright. That sounds weird. Still, these are ponies and hun... Oh, Entermain is definitely on the same standard as Celestia's. It helps when you're able to pace around too, but she definitely has the same hair thing going. All ethereal-like the less you focus on it, or the farther you are away. Except, she has a bunch of constellations going, and a more of a starry sky motif, leaving the sparkles a lot easier on the eyes. Makes sense, since she's literally the night sky horse and, all that. She's starting to smile a bit and is grabbing after your hands again. She really is comfy, you'll give her that. The whole darkness motif, the top-tier cuddle potential. Yeah, she's definitely what you'd call a guardian of the dream realm and all. You definitely need to ask Twilight about all of this whole, this body language and not creepy spots later on, especially since most of these bloody horses have no problem with physical contact in any way. And it's probably best not to repeat that. It'd be best not to repeat earlier. Celestia was perhaps, unsurprisingly, having a bit of a crisis. Already, she had to have that pitiful hope come up along with her sister's pushing, and a few smaller events, and, well, now this. How is she supposed to react to this? Go into deep thought? Over what? Something she already knew the answer to? It was obvious. Painfully obvious that she wished some form of closeness with Anonymous. Broken hearts. Quite blunt, perhaps unforgettable. But none of this felt quite right. It felt more like a delusion, a rushed catastrophe just waiting to happen. There was one simple question she needed to ask herself again and again. One question that gave her the answers that she needed. What does she really know about Anonymous? The answer? Not really much. How do you feel close with Somepony you barely know? And how do you lose so much composure with Somepony you barely know? This was the time to research, and absolutely not to avoid the situation in the slightest. Celestia, Diararch of Equestria, and perhaps one of the most powerful and most stable of rulers across the globe, was laying on the softest chair in her room, in an embarrassed clump in the darkness, and avoiding reality, like she was a filly again. Many questions had ran through her mind, and discarded books on many subjects lay close by, but a few questions in particular may have gotten under her skin, no matter how much she tried to avoid a subject.
How can I truly bring more of these moments to light? How much time could I spend with him? How well would I get to know him?
And perhaps, worst of all,
if I spend so little time with him overall, yet made out such moments, Is this simply natural?
Hiding her head under her hooves seemed like the best option to resolve all of these questions. There would be absolutely no avoidance at all, in the slightest, at all. She had many duties to fulfill, correct? Time she could spend in the court, time she could spend doing work to alleviate those with shorter lives than hers, or perhaps in this case, time spent napping until her assistant inevitably came and had a fit over her, taking a moment's rest. At the very least, Celestia was a master excuse artist.